Hello, I'm Dr. Christine Lai, Research Associate of Margaret Beaufort Institute of Theology. Thank you for joining me in my presentation. Today, I would like to share with you this topic: spirituality of aging and integral human development in an intercultural dimension. Aging is considering as a process of experiencing lives, and life is full of ups and downs, suffering and despair in the whole life. So we need to find a source of power to help us to transform and also find meaning to generate hope. The new way of connecting this meaning of life through Catholic social teaching of integral human development is my focus today, and the intercultural context and intercultural dimension are also the focus of today. Intercultural context of Hong Kong. Hong Kong has been inherited Chinese tradition in history since the 19th century. Elderly Christians are influenced by folk culture and values of Confucianism, Buddhism, and Daoism. The aging trend in Hong Kong by 2041, age over 65 will rise 32%. So 1/3 of the population will become older people. This is the aging trend. Spirituality of aging concerns the existential constructs of spirituality and personal meaning in helping older adults to transcend old age and sustain well-being. It is important to help elders identify their individual sources of spirituality and empower them to provide meaningful interpretations of their lives. My research, 3 years research, is focused on spirituality of integral human development for aging in Hong Kong. It concerns the right-hand side, the concept of spirituality of aging, and the left-hand side, integral human development. In the middle, an intercultural and interfaith approach, which comprises of Christianity, Buddhism, Confucianism, and Daoism. And these are very important to the whole spiritual well-being. So this 3 years aging research project objective is to enrich the theological reflection of spirituality of aging in Hong Kong as a process of integral human development from an intercultural interfaith approach. I have 2 important research questions. First, what is spirituality of IHD, integral human development? And how may it be understood and interpreted in Hong Kong's aging journey? It can provide us the new perspective on aging. The second question about how the intercultural belief or practice enable the spiritual journey of aging in Hong Kong. It will also help us to generate hope. But today, my focus is on intercultural dimension. Why a focus on intercultural dimension? Because in this first stage, initial stage of constructing the conceptual framework of my research in an intercultural context, I find this intercultural richness of IHD from the West, from the Catholic social teaching, and its Chinese translation from the Chinese wisdom of Confucianism, Buddhism, and Daoism can provide a deeper meaning for aging. This source of power, dealing with positive and negative experience, can help us to deal with suffering, tension, despair through faith and hope. So the flow of presentation today, first, I'll cover the context of this research, the core concepts, and also the intercultural dimension of IHD. Second, I'll share the insights from intercultural dimension of IHD. Third, what are the significance to the aging research? And last, I'll have summary and also some potential contributions. Let's take a look at the context and background of this research coming out these 3 important concepts. Spirituality of aging is coming from the midlife to aging context. Last year, I was awarded the professional Doctorate of Practical Theology from Anglia Ruskin University, and my thesis is on Midlife Spiritual Transformation. The findings of connectedness, discernment, and transformation through everyday life spirituality have inspired me to continuous aging research, because this connectedness and discernment transformation help transcending the suffering and shadows of the informants. And aging in general is defined by age like golden age or silver age. But I believe aging is a continuous process not defined by age, but is a connectedness with the past experience of whole life and its growth and learning. So faith and hope can help us to discover the meaning of life with the deepest identity, which is the very important spirituality of aging. Suffering in Modern World and IHD, the Cardinal Turkson, the director of Dicastery Promoting Integral Human Development, said, "We are living in a world overemphasizing on economic growth, productivity, and outcome. Human beings become the tools to fulfill these capitalistic values and goals. We are lost on physical or material world and the deepest desire, longing for who we are." So, the integral human development is very relevant to aging. While Cardinal Turkson also mentioned, at our later life, we have experienced all things, but we are still longing for an integral life which can bring us spirit and joy in the process of progress, development, and maturity. Pope Francis also said, elderly is a bearer of memory and witnesses to the culture of society. The third dimension, intercultural dimension, is inspired by my aging mother, late 98 years old mother. She has a fulfilled life. She's the first Catholic raised up in a Confucian and Buddhist family. Every day she has daily devotions and prayers, spiritual life, but also respecting to the ancestors with filial piety. So Christian faith and Chinese values have the power to empower her to find meaning and overcome challenges. Many of her challenges is that she is a widow. She was a widow at 40s, raising up 6 children with a loss of husband in her aging journey, loss of siblings, and loss of physical ability, a decline. But she can transcend even the family or intergenerational relationship of suffering. Her love for children sometimes may not get the reciprocate of her love. So in one late afternoon, my mother shared this authentic expression in the garden. She said, "This is the best time of my life, seeing all 4 generations are good and in harmony. I've no regret as returning home to meet God, my late mother and husband." So let's take a look of the spirituality of aging concept and IHD. In spirituality of aging, there are literatures concerning spiritual factors are increasing when we are near death. It concerns the sense of harmony, inner freedom, peace in relationship to God, nature, and environment. McKinney particularly mentioned the spiritual dimension of aging in the ultimate meaning of life, self-transcendence, intimacy with God and others, and also from fear to hope. Cottingham talked about aging is a process of finding identity in whole lifetime and full integration of whole self. In Ignatian spirituality, how to face the inevitability of death, finding God in all things, in fragility, hopelessness, failure, and guilt. But it certainly includes the experience of old age. So let's take a look at the concept and teaching of IHD. IHD concerns the human development, integrates different dimensions: theological, spiritual, psychological, social, sociological, political, economical, and ecological. And IHD concerns the holistic development of human person, covering all aspects of life. But integral is the key to the whole concept of IHD, especially help us to appreciate the process of aging and development at later stage of life. So let's take a look for some relevancy of IHD to aging from 4 areas: the becoming process, everything's connected, quality of life, and integral and wholeness concept. IHD concerns and talk about God wants us to experience all things in life, including ups and downs. Suffering and evils is a development and reality to let us to experience so as to draw us closer and cooperate with the Creator. And Pope Francis also develops positive progress or process of all as a continuing work of creation. The second concept, in Pope Francis' encyclical Laudato Si, a very core message is everything is connected. It leads us to a fundamental question for modern societies, economies, and politics and ways of life. Integral ecology concept addresses self-identity, relationship with self and God. So through the lens of THD, reflecting on aging, with concern, meaning in life, the interconnectedness with all living things, awareness of the transcendent dimension of being. The quality of life, Christian spirituality calls for a prophetic and contemplative lifestyle. It is an understanding of the quality of life. It correlates integral progress, above all, with an improvement in the quality of life. So accordingly, quality of life includes healthy and viable social relationship, in particular within families. The integral and wholeness concept are very important, because in THD it mentioned only humanity achieve wholeness with purpose. The integral development concerns the right balance among components of life's horizontal and vertical growth. Integral and wholeness are product of long process of evolution and divine creation, because human grows into perfection of God. So let's take a look at the intercultural dimension, which is the focus of today's presentation, how the Western Catholic social teaching THD interpreted in the Chinese cultural traditions. Integral Chinese roots. In etymological analysis, the Chinese translation of integral, Yuanrong, two words entrenched in the ancient Chinese culture, Buddhism, Confucianism, Daoism. The two words Yuanrong in the first word Yuan, meaning round, circle. The Buddhist term meaning nature, water, fire, wind covering all. The second word Yong is interconnected, fully assimilated. And the two words Yuanrong, meaning integral, in the Chinese word is that the fullness of Buddhism in letting all things go while we are fully interconnected and assimilated in nature. Let's take a look at the whole word integral human development, 圆融生命发展 in Chinese translation. This Chinese concept implies an all-rounded way of self-actualization through a sound relationship with self, others, world, and nature. It is a full and harmonious fulfillment of life as individual, society, and nature integrated in personal and spiritual ways of living. It will also help us to reconcile and transcend contradictions and conflicts. Yuanrong is commonly used in Chinese traditions. Confucianism, Buddhism, Daoism interacting and connecting one another. Yuanrong, commonly used interchangeably in Confucianism, Buddhism, Daoism, especially Song and Ming Dynasty between 11th to 17th century. Confucianism absorbed important elements from Daoism and Buddhism, developing new Confucianism. How about the spiritual interpretation of integral in Confucianism? Very famous Confucian scholar Tu Weimin, he advocated spiritual humanism in Confucianism to describe spiritual dimension of Confucian humanism. He said the integrated vision for humanity in the 21st century should consider self, community, nature, and heaven. Spiritual humanism is a fruitful interaction of self and community, sustainable harmonious relationship of human species and nature, mutuality between human heart and way of heaven. So let's take a look at the insights from this intercultural dimension of THD. There are various different dimensions that we'll cover today. First, reconcile suffering and tension in the aging process. How this THD and Chinese Yuanrong help us, because it helps how individuals resolve spiritually the tensions and conflicts while his or her life are connected with self, others, world, and nature. The spiritual meaning of life and connectedness with all parts of life, with nature, heaven, God, humanity, will transcend suffering and tension. everything is connected in harmony. The Catholic social teaching of IHD talked about holistic relationship with oneself, others, and God to restore harmony. It is a restoration journey of harmony and returning to the divine and creator. The Chinese IHD concerns that we are connecting with self, family, society, and heaven in order to achieve fulfillment of life. It is harmony. In the process of becoming is the key in IHD, a process of becoming and experiencing with right balance among components of life. Through this process of becoming and experiencing, we reconcile conflicts to a meaningful whole. While Chinese IHD talk about process of addressing different challenges in relationship to create harmony. One of the challenges is family and intergenerational harmony. Cardinal Turkson talked about intergenerational solidarity. In IHD, which echoes the Confucian teaching, the Chinese Yuanrong talks about integrality. It comes from all, especially familial and intergenerational relationship. And these relationships will enhance the right balance of human, make us whole, becoming whole. God versus heaven and humanity. In IHD, humans are growing into the likeness of God. It's a response to the divine calling, returning to God. The Chinese Yuanrong not directly addressing to God, but the Confucian or Buddhist origins embedded the relationship of heaven and humanity. The Confucian spiritual humanism shares the mutual relationship between human heart and way of heaven. So, what are the significance of this intercultural dimension to the aging research when we put IHD from Papal teaching and the Chinese Yuanrong together? Aging can help us transcend suffering and struggle through IHD. In reality of life, we face with disequilibrium, productivity, human nature, neglections, marginalized world and society. IHD and Yuanrong are the direction and the goal to achieve this integral wholeness. But through the process, we'll connect positive and negative experiences of life, like struggles, pain, suffering, and despair in life. But through this process of Yuanrong, connecting everything, we'll discover hope when connecting with all things, including God, heaven, others, humanity, nature. Another significance is the spiritual strength to wholeness. This spiritual strength will help us to transcend through spirituality of IHD and Yuanrong. How? In Christianity, we connect self with God, and we can reconcile the past and the shadows, returning to the Creator, respond to the divine calling. Confucianism talk about this spiritual humanism, the connection between humanity and heaven, give us strength to go back to the spirituality of humanism. Buddhism talks about letting things go, let go of ourselves, and then we nurture the compassion of self and others. This is the spiritual strength to wholeness. The intercultural, another significance of intercultural dimension for IHD is that IHD and Yuanrong review can help us to reveal ultimate meaning in life, in our life stories, conflicts, tensions, relationship. This can help us, it is an empowerment from this intercultural spiritual dimension and provide us insights to develop an integral and holistic aging in later life. So in summary, in the research, Spirituality of Integral Human Development for Aging in Hong Kong, we focus on this intercultural dimension and also the richness of intercultural content of IHD in Chinese translation of IHD. And we also cover spirituality of aging in relation to Catholic teaching of IHD, this intercultural richness and insights to aging research. But in summary, there are also very important meanings to bioethics, healthcare, spiritual care, and policymakers. For the elderly in aging process, they can appreciate the values for IHD, and when they are seeking the inner spiritual needs, they can reconcile shadows, transcend fragility through this spiritual empowerment. For caretakers or companions in aging, they can appreciate the spiritual needs and deeper understanding of IHD interculturally of the elderly behind their physical challenges. For policymakers, we can have more holistic and intercultural understanding of spiritual needs of elderly and caretakers. The potential of contributions in this aging research from suffering to hope. The meaning of integral aging in intercultural context is a new pioneer area and also contribution. The new perspective in reconciling aging challenges, find meaning and generating hope through IHD. Last but not least, contributions to knowledge and practice from this research help us to integrate, and through the integration of theology, culture, and spirituality, especially in aging and also intercultural context in Hong Kong. So these contributions in the aging research and also see how suffering transcending to hope through the IHD and intercultural dimension. Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to your future feedback. Thank you.